Passing. Racing. Okay.
Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyard channel. My name is Charisma, and today we're meeting in the studio and we're going to winter sow some seeds because it is stormy and rainy and it is the first part of February and it is time to really get going on our seed starting. But I have a couple of spaces. I only have a small space to start seeds, and I have 2 flats in that space already. So real estate is prime, right? But I also have a bunch of seeds that can get direct sown, and I would love to just give them a little leg up so that they're ready to rock and roll in like the heart of spring, right? So I just have regular potting mix here, and it's just barely damp. It's a little less damp than I'd love it to be, but it's okay for these purposes because we have a very rainy forecast ahead of us, and they'll get watered in just fine. So with winter sowing, we've done this a few times before. I can link winter sowing links below, but essentially what we do is we take a milk carton or any kind of clear opaque carton. You can certainly use something like this. I had nuts in this one. We had cookies in this one, little clamshells, right? Milk or water, orange juice, whatever you got, plastic containers, and then you want to make sure that they have an opening. So what we do is we put holes in the bottom for drainage, and then we cut open the container and make sure that there's some sort of a hinge lid. It just makes it easier to handle that way. And then we just fill it up with regular potting soil that you would use for outdoors. This is raised bed potting soil. Just fill it up and tap it down and make sure that there's not too many air pockets. I'm not worried about filling it all the way up to the rim. I just want to make sure that there's not any air pockets. And then we can grow cool season flowers in these. You can definitely do winter sowing earlier in the winter, like in the fall. That's a great time to start them if you want to play with that idea. I don't worry about taking off the labels. I mean, I only use this for one season and then they get thrown away. They're just cumbersome and not worth saving. Spencer drinks a lot of milk, obviously, so we just always have these available, and then we just get to reuse them in this way. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about what seeds I'm going to start growing in these this year, and then we can close them up together. So what I want to winter sow, I guess the other thing I should say is we will close them up. We use some duct tape. We label the outside. We leave the tops open with no cap so that the rain can go inside of there. And then these essentially act as like a little mini greenhouse, right? And then after they're all taped up and labeled, I will take them outside. I just tuck them right alongside my greenhouse. You can put them anywhere. They don't have. The greenhouse has nothing to do with it. It's just a convenient place for me to keep mine. So we just put them outside and we let them go, and then they grow on their own. They're watered on their own. If you live in a really dry climate, you might have to like stick a mister down in there every once in a while and make sure that they get some water, some moisture, because seeds do need moisture to crack open and start growing. But this gives them a little bit of insulation. and just a little bit of a jump rather than planting them. These seeds would all have to be sown directly in like May, late May, early May, depending on the seed, because the soil temperatures need to be at 55 degrees or above, depending on the seed. And my soil temperatures just don't get that warm until much later in the season. So having plants to put out, they can usually withstand it if they have a good root system. So the first one we're going to grow is helichrysum. And this is a type of straw flower. I grew straw flowers last year, loved them, loved their color, loved how they stood in the garden. They were very wildflower look to them. I left some in some portion of my garden. I mostly grew them in a raised bed for cutting flowers. I did a whole bed of dried or flowers that you could cut for dried flowers last year. I'm not doing that this year. It's going to be different. But I grew some on a hillside. They did great. I left them in the garden to see if they'll self-seed. I don't know if they will. So I want to make sure that I have some for this year. And so I'm going to sow them in this way. So with these winter sowing methods, I like to overseed because I just don't know, like it's a less of a guarantee. Oops. It's a less of a guarantee putting them out in the garden this time of year than it would be if I kept them under grow lights and I monitored them and put them out in the cold frame, all that. So I like to just kind of take my seed packet and sprinkle them all over, kind of heavy. And this seed packet's a little bit old. What was it packed for? Yeah, it's 2 years old. So I'm very happy with, making, or for putting a lot of seed on there. The other thing that I will do, it's not necessary, but I like to do it because we are so moist here that we tend to grow moss and mold on everything. So if I can put some vermiculite on top of this, that will make me feel a lot better. And it cuts down on how much moss is grown in these. I tend to still get moss a little bit on the edges every year. It happens. So I'm just going to water these in. The helichrysum just need to be pressed into the soil, so I'm not even going to do that. I'm just letting the water settle them onto the soil. Okay. And then I will use some vermiculite on top of each carton like that. And it just helps a little bit with any kind of dampening off as the seedlings just begin to grow. And then I like to put a label inside and I like to mark the outside. And I tend to actually mark my tape as well because it just seems to stay on there a little bit better. So I'm only growing one kind of helichrysum, so we'll just put that on there. I like to put the date so I can kind of be aware of how long it took. And that is it. I'll tape them all together at the same time. It's just easier that way. But I can put a label out here. Like that. And so we'll just continue on. Let's see what's the next one. I have some marigolds. And I'm not going to grow all my marigolds in winter sowing, but I want to try them. I've never grown them this way, so I thought it would be fun to see how they do. They typically direct sow super easy, and I'm growing multiple varieties this year, so I thought I'd just try one in the winter sowing method. And this is Chica Flame, and it's by Baker Creek or Rare Seeds. It's a really beautiful marigold. Same kind of thing, just going to sprinkle them in here. Maybe not as thickly as the last time, just because I don't have as many, and these are brand new seeds. Just gonna spread them out a little bit. It says a 1/4 inch deep, so I'm just gonna kind of push them in just a little and push the soil on top of them. And we will water these in. I'm not watering them in very deeply. I just want to get the tops of the seeds moist. Label Chica Flame. This and a little vermiculite. Okay. Then the next one I want to try is a nasturtium, and this one is Jewel Mix, which we've also had really great luck with our nasturtiums growing direct sown, but I thought maybe I could have some with a little bit of a leg up. So we're going to try that out. They want to be sown 1/2 inch to 1 inch. They get pretty long and leggy because they're a vine, so I'm going to be a little bit more aware of how many seeds I put in here to give them a chance to really grow good. The ones that are oversown, we can just go in and thin them out later in the spring. Not a big deal. So I put 7 in this, water it in just a tad. Save these for a direct sown application later. Vermiculite. Label. What did I say this was? Jewel Mix. Okay. Goodness. Okay. All right, and then I have 3 different kinds of zinnias. And I just really wanted to make sure that I have all the zinnias in all the places. So we're gonna have enough to create a flat of zinnias, do winter sowing, and direct sow. So I'm not going to use the entire packet of any of these zinnias, but I do want to try them out. So the first one is Zinnia scabiosa. And so they kind of have that pincushion flower look to them. And then there are all these bright, hot tropical colors. Really fun. and they want to be sown 1/4 inch deep. Make sure that there's plenty, so I'm gonna just pour them into my hand and count them out. These are new seeds this year, so they should come up pretty good. Okay, I've got 6 in there. I try to put the labels where there's not a product label, so I might be able to see through it, and I try to put it on a different side than these labels that I put on the outside in case the rain like washes this out, or just giving everybody a fair chance to survive our rains. Okay, then these ones are a little bit bigger, and that's okay. We're just gonna put a little bit, since I have a little bit of soil and this is low, I'm just gonna put some more soil in this one. Okay. Alright, so then we have Zinnia Benary's Giant Series Mix, which is a really common one. Just lots of different petal formations, a lot of oranges and yellows, but little bits of pinks as well. These also have to go 1/4 inch. Let's see, the Scabiosa was from Baker's Creek. This one is from Territorial Seed out of Cottage Grove or Eugene or wherever they are. So, just gonna again, I'm just gonna kind of pop them down in the soil with my finger like that. Give them a little zhuzh over the top so that they're all covered. Okay. And then we just have one more, same kind of a deal. This one is also a zinnia, and this is Miss Wilmot Pink. Because zinnias tend to have so many oranges and yellows and reds, I wanted to make sure I got enough pink, or just a variation of hot tropical colors. So I picked this packet up, which is just a pink classic zinnia flower. And I'm placing these guys far enough apart that they shouldn't need to be thinned, but they can easily be divided so that I can come in here and gently pull their roots apart and have, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a dozen. There's a dozen seeds in here. So, fun. All right, and that is the last of the milk jug. And then because I have these two containers, I'm gonna go ahead and start some sweet peas, which can also be directly sown, but I'd love to just get them up and going and be really fun. So I'm just gonna grab a couple of these sweet peas here. I have the Heirloom Sweet Peas Mermaid Dream from Renee's Garden. And then, I don't know, Beaujolais? I have no idea. Tell me how to pronounce that. But it is a dark maroon with like a deep purple center. And then these are just a whole variety of different purples. Light purples and dark purples, etc. So, just going to go ahead and put some soil in here. Because the lid is so close to this one, I'm not going to fill this container all the way because I want to make sure that the plants have a little bit of room to sprout up. These ones I'm expecting to come up pretty quickly, and I'll just take the lid off and probably pop them in the greenhouse to let them continue growing. So we're going to try this burgundy one, which is a few years old. 2021. So I'm actually just going to put all of them in here because I have no idea how good they're going to do. I know that I tried planting some of them last year. They really didn't do all that well. I don't even know if they came up. So just got a little bit of this soil. Just want to put some soil right over the top. Just like that. Water them in. Now, sweet peas, just like garden peas, will respond really well to pre-sprouting. So you can put them in a little damp paper towel and put them in the refrigerator for a day or two before placing them outside. But this essentially is doing the same thing, right? But we're just letting it continue to grow. So I will just close this up and we'll have like this little greenhouse effect there. And then I'm gonna fill this up with soil. It's a little bit deeper. All right, again, wanting the plants to have plenty of space to grow. I'm not filling the container all the way up. Do want to make sure that there's no clumps. So take care of that. And before I forget, let's label this one. We're going to put a label. We're just going to write on this label what it is. Sweet peas. Spill it out. Beaujolais. Beaujolais. Gosh, the worst. Okay. So then this one is the Mermaid's Dream. And it is also a couple of years old. Let's have a date. A little newer, 2022. And I don't have as many. So we'll spread them out a little bit. Let's see if I could do 2 per... Okay. And little Sweetie Mermaid Dream. And you would think that when you have different size containers and you're not using any other container like that, you would remember what they are, but you don't. So labels are important. All right, so then the next piece that I want to do, and again, I just want to make sure that the label is clear. So even though I wrote it on the top, and I don't need to secure these because the clamshells, clamp down. I'm still just going to put a piece of tape right here and say what they are. There are a couple of holes on the top so that rain can get in there. This one should be fine. All right, so then we're gonna do this. I just take my tape and do this while I can see. We start here. We just want to hold the container closed. This is when the lid or the handle comes in handy, so you can kind of control what's happening. And then you just go all the way around like that. Just like that. And then because I've had so much experience with my labels disappearing, I just like to put it on the tape as well. Like that. I'm going to wipe down this mess. That out of my way, and I'll record what we sewed, winter sewing today. All right, and now we just tape all these up, label them. Sometimes it's easier to just handle the piece of tape rather than the tape roll. They're a little wonky. It's not a big deal. We just want to make sure that we get that greenhouse effect. So even though there's air coming in from this direction, we don't want it to just be fully exposed. This is a marigold. All right, so that is all that we're gonna do today. We've got 8 different kinds of seeds sown, and they're gonna be out in the garden essentially, so we won't have to do any hardening off process or anything like that. As soon as they start sprouting and having true leaves, we can pull them apart and get them out into the landscape, and they can kind of live in here for quite a while. So if they get like really full, they can just hang out so long as we keep enough water on them. That's the biggest problem, is once they start becoming actual plants, is they suck up the water. So we just have to be on top of that in the springtime, especially during dry spells, right? And then we always have to make sure that there's lots of drainage, because they can just kind of get boggy and the seeds will drown. So make sure there's lots of drainage on the bottom. All right. If we have a break in the rainstorm, I will pop these out and I'll show you where they end up. That is going to be it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you're celebrating your life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.